With all the talk around the Israel-Hamas war, I continue to see the mainstream Bible prophecy experts claim that this is the Psalm 83 war. My question is whether Psalm 83 is a future war that really even happens. So let's get Psalm 83. And the question pertains to the Psalm 83 war. Is what we're seeing today somehow the Psalm 83 war? So let's get Psalm 83, and we'll look at verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites, of Moab and the Hagarenes, Gebal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Asher also is joined with them. They have holpen the children of Lot, Selah. So what you see there in those last couple verses we read is there are 10 nations that join together that are confederate against Israel. Verse 5 says they've consulted together with one consent. So can anyone tell me the first reason why what we're seeing right now cannot be the 10-nation confederacy? And the answer is the 10 nations aren't confederate. Right? They're not. So just paying any attention to what's going on is the 10 nations are not confederate together against Israel. So it can't be the fulfillment of Psalm 83. There's another reason that what is going on right now cannot be the fulfillment of Psalm 83, and that is simply that there is no Old Testament prophecy fulfilled during the dispensation of grace. When 2 Thessalonians 2 said, He who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. The idea of let is to hold back, to hinder. In other words, when the Lord during his earthly ministry said, This generation shall not pass away till all these things be fulfilled. And he was talking about the events of the 70th week. He was talking about the second coming. When he said, This generation shall not pass away, what he's saying is, guys, you who are living right here, right now, this generation is not going to pass away till all these things happen. What he's saying to them is, within 40 years, a generation is 40 years in the Scriptures. Within 40 years, all these things are going to be fulfilled. Well, now, obviously, that didn't happen because we're well past 40 years. So why are we past the 40 years? Because in the middle of the book of Acts, God put the prophetic calendar on hold, and the things were not fulfilled. So then think about this with me. Can prophecy be fulfilled if prophecy has been put on hold? It can't. Or put a different way, if someone asks you, how many points did the team score during the timeout? The answer is always 0. Because you can't score points during a timeout. Well, how much prophecy can be fulfilled during a time that interrupts the fulfillment of prophecy? None. None. Get with me Daniel chapter 7. I want to show you just a couple more things about the 10-nation confederacy. And what I'm going to suggest to you is that the Psalm 83 10-nation confederacy is the same thing as the 10 horns that are repeatedly mentioned in the prophetic scriptures. So get Daniel chapter 7, and we're going to look at verse 7. So Daniel 7, verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So this beast here has 10 horns. Verse 20, so go down to verse 20. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. Verse 24. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. So what you can see there is these 10 horns represent 10 kings out of these kingdoms, and then there's this one that's diverse that arises. That's the one that turns out to be the beast. Get with me Revelation chapter 12 and verse 3. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. Get Revelation 13, verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Get Revelation 17, verse 12. Revelation 17, verse 12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. So the way to understand Psalm 83, I'll suggest to you, is Psalm 83 is not what is happening today. It can't be happening today. It's not fulfilled during the dispensation of grace, but it will be fulfilled in the future when the 10 nations are confederate and against Israel. And you can see cross-references to that in the 10 horns verses that we looked at in Daniel and Revelation.